Chapter 1 of the Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Chapter 1 Spade and Archer. Samuel Spade's jaw was long and bony, his chin a jutting V under the more flexible V of his mouth. His nostrils curved back to make another smaller V. His yellow-gray eyes were horizontal. The V motif was picked up again by thickish brows rising outward from twin creases above a hooked nose, and his pale brown hair grew down from high flat temples in a point on his forehead. He looked rather pleasantly like a blonde Satan. He said to Effie Perrine, "Yes, sweetheart?" She was a lanky sunburned girl whose tan dress of thin woolen stuff clung to her with an effect of dampness. Her eyes were brown and playful in a shiny, boyish face. She finished shutting the door behind her, leaned against it, and said, "There's a girl wants to see you. Her name's Wonderly." "A customer?" "I guess so. You'll want to see her anyway. She's a knockout." "Shoo her in, darling," said Spade. "Shoo her in." Effie Perrine opened the door again, following it back into the outer office, standing with a hand on the knob while saying, "Will you come in, Miss Wonderly?" A voice said, "Thank you," so softly that only the purest articulation made the words audible, and a young woman came through the doorway. She advanced slowly, with tentative steps, looking at Spade with cobalt-blue eyes that were both shy and probing. She was tall. She was pliantly slender. Her erect, high-breasted body, her long legs, her narrow hands and feet had nowhere any angularity. She wore 2 shades of blue that had been selected because of her eyes. The hair curling from under her blue hat was darkly red, her full lips more brightly red. White teeth glistened in the crescent her timid smile made. Spade rose, bowing and indicating with a thick-fingered hand the oaken armchair beside his desk. He was quite 6 feet tall. The steep, rounded slope of his shoulders made his body seem almost conical, no broader than it was thick, and kept his freshly pressed gray coat from fitting very well. Miss Wonderly murmured, "Thank you," softly as before, and sat down on the edge of the chair's wooden seat. Spade sank into his swivel chair, made a quarter turn to face her, and smiled politely. He smiled without separating his lips. All the V's in his face grew longer. The tappity-tap-tap and the thin bell and muffled whir of Effie Perrine's typewriting came through the closed door. Somewhere in a neighboring office a power-driven machine vibrated dully. On Spade's desk a limp cigarette smoldered in a brass tray filled with the remains of limp cigarettes. Ragged gray flakes of cigarette ash dotted the yellow top of the desk and the green blotter and the papers that were there. A buff curtain window, 8 or 10 inches open, let in from the court a current of air faintly scented with ammonia. The ashes on the desk twitched and crawled in the current. Miss Wonderly watched the twitching and crawling gray flakes uneasily. She sat stiffly on the very edge of her chair, her feet flat on the floor, as if she were about to rise. Her hands in dark gloves clasped a flat, dark handbag in her lap. Spade rocked back in his chair and asked, "Now, what can I do for you, Miss Wonderly?" She caught her breath and looked at him. She swallowed and said hurriedly, "Could you? I thought that is—" Then she tortured her lower lip with glistening teeth and said nothing. Only her dark eyes spoke now, pleading. Spade nodded and smiled as if he understood her, but pleasantly, as if nothing really serious were involved. The same assurance was in his voice when he spoke. "Suppose you tell me all about it, and then we'll know what needs doing. Better begin as far back as you can, as near the beginning." "That was in New York," she said. "Yes," he said. "I don't know where she met him. I don't know where in New York. She's 5 years younger than I, only 17, and we didn't have the same friends. I don't suppose we were ever as close as sisters should be. Mama and Papa are in Europe. It would kill them. I've got to get her back before they come home." "Yes." "They're returning the 1st of the month." Spade's eyes brightened. "Then we've got 2 whole weeks," he said. "I didn't know what she had done until her letter came. I was frantic." Her lips trembled. Her hands mashed the dark handbag in her lap. "The fear that she had done something like this kept me from going to the police, and the fear that something had happened to her kept urging me to go. There wasn't anyone I could go to for advice. I didn't know what to do. What could I do?" "Nothing, of course," Spade said amiably. "But then her letter came?" "Yes, and I sent her a telegram asking her to come home. I sent it to General Delivery here. That was the only address she had given me. I waited a week, but no answer came, not a word from her. And Mama and Papa's return was drawing nearer and nearer. So I came to San Francisco to get her. I wrote her I was coming. I shouldn't have done that, should I?" "Maybe not. It's not always easy to know what to do. Then you haven't found her?" "I haven't found her. I wrote her that I would go to the St. Mark, and I begged her to come and let me talk to her, even if she didn't intend going home with me. But she didn't come. I waited there 3 days, and Corinne didn't come, didn't even send me a message." Spade nodded his blond Satan's head slowly, frowning sympathetically, his lips tightened together. "It was horrible," she said, trying to smile. "I couldn't sit there like that and wait, not knowing what had happened to her, what might be happening to her." She stopped trying to smile and shuddered. "The only address I had was General Delivery. I wrote her another letter, and yesterday afternoon I went to the post office. I stayed there until dark, but I didn't see her. I went there again this morning and still didn't see Corinne, but I saw Floyd Thursby." Spade nodded again, but his frown had vanished. In its place was a look of sharp attentiveness. "He wouldn't tell me where Corinne is," she went on hopelessly. "He wouldn't tell me anything, except that she is well and happy. But how can I believe him? That is what he would tell me anyhow, isn't it?" "Exactly," Spade agreed. "But it might be true." "I hope it is. I do hope it is," she exclaimed. "But I can't go back home like this, without having seen her, without even having talked to her on the phone. He wouldn't take me to her. He said she didn't want to see me. I can't believe that. He promised to tell her that he had seen me and to bring her to see me if she would come, this evening at the hotel. He said he knew she wouldn't. He promised to come himself if she wouldn't. He—" She broke off with a startled hand to her mouth as the office door opened. The man who had opened the door came in a step, said, "Oh, excuse me," hastily took his brown hat from his head and backed out. "It's all right, Miles," Spade told him. "Come in. Miss Wonderly, this is Mr. Archer, my partner." Miles Archer came into the office again, shutting the door behind him, ducking his head and smiling at Miss Wonderly, making a vaguely polite gesture with the hat in his hand. He was of medium height, solidly built, wide in the shoulders, thick in the neck, with a jovial, heavy-jawed red face and some gray in his close-trimmed hair. He was apparently as many years past 40 as Spade was past 30. Spade said, "Miss Wonderly's sister ran away from New York with a fellow named Floyd Thursby. They're here. Miss Wonderly has seen Thursby and has a date with him tonight. Maybe he'll bring her sister with him. The chances are he won't. Miss Wonderly wants us to help find her sister and get her away from him and back home." He looked at Miss Wonderly. "Right?" "Yes," she replied indistinctly. The embarrassment that had gradually been driven away by Spade's ingratiating smiles and nods and assurances was pinkening her face again. She looked at the bag in her lap and picked nervously at it with a gloved finger. Spade winked solemnly at his partner. Miles Archer came forward to stand at a corner of the desk. While the girl looked at her bag, he looked at her. His little brown eyes ran their bold, appraising gaze from her lowered face to her feet and up to her face again. Then he looked at Spade and made a silent whistling mouth of appreciation. Spade raised 2 fingers from the arm of his chair in a brief warning gesture and said, "Well, that should be easily enough managed. It's simply a matter of having a man at the hotel this evening to shadow him away when he leaves, and to keep on shadowing him till he leads us to your sister. If she comes with him, so much the better." Archer said, "Yeah." His voice was heavy, coarse. Miss Wonderly looked up quickly at Spade, puckering her forehead between her eyebrows. "Oh, but you must be careful." Anxiety quivered in her voice. Her lips shaped the words with little nervous jerks. "I'm deathly afraid of him, and of what he might do. She's so young. His bringing her here from New York is such a serious... Mightn't he do something to her?" Spade smiled and patted the arms of his chair. "Just leave that to us," he said. "We'll know how to handle him." "But mightn't he?" she insisted. "There's always a chance." Spade nodded judicially. "But you can trust us to take care of that." "I do trust you," she said earnestly. "But I want you to know he's a dangerous man. I honestly don't believe he'd stop at anything. I don't believe he'd hesitate to kill Corinne if he thought it necessary to save himself. Mightn't he do that?" "You didn't threaten him with arrest, did you?" "I told him all I wanted was to get Corinne home before Mama and Papa came, so they never know what she had done. I swore to him that I'd never say a word to them about it if he'd help me to do that, but that if he didn't, Papa would certainly have him punished. I don't suppose he believed me altogether." "Can he cover up by marrying her?" Archer asked. The girl blushed and said in confusion, "He has a wife and 3 children in England. Corinne wrote me that, to explain why she'd gone off with him." "They usually do," Spade said, "though not always in England." He leaned forward to reach for a pencil and pad of paper lying on the desk. "What does he look like?" "He's 35, perhaps, and as tall as you, and either naturally dark or quite sunburned. His hair is dark, too, and he has thick eyebrows. He talks in a rather loud, blustery way, and has a nervous, irritable manner. He gives an impression of being... of violence." Spade, scribbling on the pad, asked without looking up, "What color eyes?" "They're bluish-gray and watery, though not in a weak way. And, oh yes, he has a marked cleft in his chin." "Thin, medium, or heavy built?" "Quite athletic. He's broad-shouldered and carries himself erect, what you would call a decidedly military carriage. He had on a light gray suit and a gray hat when I saw him this morning." "What does he do for a living?" Spade asked as he pushed the pad back and laid down the pencil. "I don't know," she said. "I've never had the slightest idea." "When's he coming to see you?" "At 8 this evening." "All right, Miss Wenderly. We'll have a man there. It'll help if—" "Mr. Spade, could either you or Mr. Archer—" She made an appealing gesture with both hands. "Could either of you look after it personally? I don't mean that the man you would send wouldn't be capable, but... oh, I am so afraid of what might happen to Corinne. I'm afraid of him. Could you? I'd expect to be charged more, of course." She opened her handbag with nervous fingers and put $200 bills on Spade's desk. "Will that be enough now?" "Yeah," Archer said, "and I'll handle it myself." Miss Wonderly stood up, impulsively holding a hand out to him. "Thank you, thank you," she exclaimed, and then gave Spade the hand, repeating, "Thank you." "Not at all," Spade said over it. "Glad to. It'll help some if you either wait for Thursby downstairs or come down with him when he leaves." "I will," she promised, and thanked the partners again. "And don't look for me," Archer cautioned her. "I'll see you all right." Spade went to the outer door with Miss Wonderly. When he came back to his desk, Archer nodded at the $100 bills there, growled complacently, "They're right enough," picked one up, folded it, and tucked it in a vest pocket. And they had brothers in her bag. Spade pocketed the other bill before he sat down. Then he said, "Well, don't dynamite her too much. What do you think of her?" "She's a sweet job. And you telling me not to dynamite her?" Archer guffawed suddenly, without merriment. "Maybe you saw her first, Sam, but I spoke first." He put his hands in his pants pockets and teetered back on his heels. "You play hell with her, you will." Spade grinned wolfishly, showing the edge of teeth far back in his jaw. "You've got brains. Yes, you have." He began making a cigarette. End of Chapter 1.